Joining me now on the Believe in Jets podcast from the New York Daily News, Jets insider Antwan Staley. It's Tuesday, so here you are. What's up, Antwan?
It's good to be back with you, man. It's been a couple of weeks there. Jets had another big win, against the Patriots last week, and then had to win against the Titans. So, yeah, things are rolling right now for them.
Some things have changed, and I think the one thing that's changed the most, for me at least, is Aaron Rodgers' mobility, because from Sunday to Thursday, I did not expect a guy who was taking choppy steps and looked every bit 40 years old to be rolling out, throwing on the run, all of a sudden running for first downs and sliding, getting to the sideline almost. Were you shocked by the mobility? I certainly was watching at home. Where did this come from just 4 days after the guy looked like he couldn't even get out of the pocket?
No, I mean, we saw that during camp. Like, I think it's just been coming and going, and I think he just needs confidence. I think I said that, whether it be in tweets or maybe on here, that it's going to take some time for him to get some confidence back. I mean, you have to remember that he hadn't played for a year, and then previous to that, he hadn't played in a full game to the prior to the Titans game. To the 49ers game since his last game in Green Bay. So yeah, it had to take some time to get him some comfortability, also some confidence that he can run on that leg. And I definitely think he definitely showed that against the Patriots there. So we'll see if he can, continue to go. But yeah, I mean, he definitely showed those signs at training camp. So I'm not necessarily surprised. I just thought that we would see it a little bit sooner than what we did, maybe starting in San Francisco or Tennessee. But yeah, I definitely thought, we saw a different Aaron Rodgers against the Patriots, one that I think everybody expected to see once he got traded to the Jets last year.
Well, that's the craziest part. I basically, after the Titans game, said, you know what? This Aaron Rodgers is good enough to win a bunch of games. This is who the guy is now. That's okay. It's not the guy the Jets traded for. Thursday night against the Patriots, that was the guy the Jets traded for. And so moving forward, I want to ask you, which guy do I expect? Do you expect this guy that we saw on Thursday night?
I think you'll see a combination of both, at least early on, because I still think the Jets are still finding their way offensively. I mean, even in the Patriots game, I feel like there was some plays out there that left on the field. I mean, it could have been a lot worse than 24-3. So, yeah, I definitely think you'll start to see a little bit more of that Aaron Rodgers there. It's also going to depend on who they're playing because, as we know, styles makes fights when you talk about, who you're playing against there. I think Denver, you might see a little bit more of the Patriots, Aaron Rodgers there. The Vikings, the schedule's coming up in October. It really got interesting, especially with the Vikings starting out 3-0. I don't think anybody really saw that coming. I thought they would be better than what people thought, but Sam Darnold, you got to give him credit. He's playing at an MVP type level, and then their defense, I think, is really stepped up too as well. So Minnesota, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, right, 3 in a row. That's going to be very interesting, and they're all standalone games too. So that's also what's going to make it interesting as well.
Yeah, Brian Flores done a job with that defense, I would say, for sure. So what I think though, and this is two things. One, you said the offense doesn't look like it's even at its full capabilities, which is amazing. I agree with you. They haven't even unlocked Garrett Wilson yet. That connection doesn't look like it's all the way there. Yet this team is as good an offense the Jets have had in years, maybe in my lifetime, even though it doesn't look fully unlocked. Then they're number one in the league in third down conversion. That's the greatest thing to me. Being able to sit there, it's 3rd and 7, and you're just like, yeah, he's going to make the right play, find the right man, figure it out somehow. That's something we've never seen.
Exactly. And, 57% complete, third down conversion rate there. And then, the last time they scored 3 touchdowns in a game prior to this, like in the first 3 games consecutively, it was 2019. So
I think it took them 11 weeks to score 9 touchdowns last year, and they have 9 already.
Yeah, exactly. So it tells you it's night and day with this team too. And we were speaking to Joe Tippin yesterday, kind of on the Zoom, and we asked him what the difference was between this year, last year, and the third down conversion rate. He just simply said Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, I think that's part of it as well. I think also too the protection in the offensive line too. I think is a bit difference there. Although you're going to have Morgan Moses out probably 2 or 3 weeks there, which kind of hurts there. But at the same time, you got that Astor Insurance and getting Odo Fashado for Penn State there. A move that a lot of people weren't necessarily happy about when it was made. There are a lot of Jet fans because they wanted the shiny toy Bowers, and yeah, he's playing really well for the Raiders, but I think, considering the fact that they got snake bitten by injuries on the offensive line, I thought that was the smart move.
So how does Olu Fashanu look so far? What do you expect to see from him in his time filling in?
Well, I mean, he's been using it as a swing tackle ever since training camp. So I thought it was solid. I mean, considering the fact that he really didn't play a lot of right tackle at Penn State, and then this is his first introduction to it coming into the league. I think it's as good as he could be there. I thought he was, solid in training camp there. Maybe had like one off day, the first day that he, really played right tackle. And then ever since then, I thought he's just been, taking those steps up. And, he was solid against the Patriots, although it was in limited work. I think it was like 14 snaps. He didn't let up a sack or a pressure or didn't commit a penalty. So, yeah, definitely. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine no matter where you play him. And that's why I thought it was the smart move to take him, especially considering Tyron Smith on the other side, his injury history too as well.
Yeah, and that's the problem now. So hopefully Morgan Moses is, back soon enough that if there is another injury, you can just swing Olu back to the other side or figure it out that way. So hopefully that's how this works out for the Jets, or maybe everyone gets healthy and that would be great. But you do mention Brock Bowers. How about Tyler Conklin in the game for the Jets, right? So what I found most impressive about Tyler Conklin was every time Rodgers scrambled, Tyler Conklin circling around and ad-libbing at the end of the play, almost Kelsey-like, finding the soft spot in the defense as Rodgers moves and just sitting in it and Rodgers finding him. That kind of chemistry doesn't just develop overnight. That could be a huge weapon for the Jets moving forward.
I mean, we know Rodgers loves his tight ends. I mean, if you look at his past in Green Bay, I mean, he's really relied on them as a safety valve.
And Conklin might be the best tight end he's played with.
At least in a while. I'll say that at least in a while.
Jermichael Finley.
Yeah, you talk about, but yeah, it's been a while since Aaron Rodgers has played with a really good tight end. I think Kyle Conklin is a good tight end. I think he's a solid guy that's going to get you move the chains there. I mean, he's not going to necessarily burn you kind of like a, Travis Kelce or Kyle Pitts or anything like that, but he's somebody that's, like you say, he's going to get you 10 yards when you need those 10 yards. He's going to get you those 12 yards. And I think you kind of saw that too, just to put up the night that he's had. That's why I thought he had a chance to have a really big year this year with Aaron coming back. Because I thought, a lot of people would key on Garrett Wilson, and that's been the case early on. You kind of saw that with the Patriots there. Even, Christian Gonzalez, I think for the most part, did a, solid job there. But now you got other guys that are getting involved, like Alan Lazard having a, bounce back year in the first 3 games, and Tyler Conklin there. And now you're seeing them incorporate Mike Williams, into the offense too as well. So, I mean, I think that's why I say this offense has not been unleashed yet totally, which is going to be fun to see once it happens. I think it might be midway through the season before we see his full capabilities.
Yeah, and that's crazy. Like I said, the fact that the offense to Jet fans looks like this is just crazy. Like the 2nd and 17, right? You fall behind the chains and just right away immediately pick up that first down. It's like that's something Jet fans are not used to. It's like, oh, 2nd and 17, screw it, the drive's over. Like I thought the first drive of the game stalled against the Patriots, and I spoke to my friend who was in the building, and he's like, yeah, it's still they look so great on that drive. No one cared. Everyone's like, oh my God, we're going to dominate today. Like the fans felt like, oh, okay, whatever, one drive, who cares? We look so good on offense. There's no way we're losing this game.
And then what I like too is like instead of the first 2 games where they came out and ran the ball, like they came out like passing it, like, and they did the play action. I was like, okay, good. That's what you want to just get Aaron involved early, like get him some rhythm there. I felt like they did themselves a disservice the first 2 games at not doing that. Now you got him just in a role there, and I think I think that set the tone for the whole game, at least early on.
And Alan Lazard, like you mentioned, I mean, he looks like a different human being. How does that even happen? Like just his energy level, his blocking downfield, everything is just a different person.
His demeanor has really changed too. Like you could, like last year when Aaron got hurt, I mean, you could just tell like he was just not just the same person at all. And I think that translated on the field there. I mean, he didn't have the same chemistry with Zach Wilson there. And, obviously they played Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle too as well. So now you see him like a little bit more upbeat there, making the plays that he's supposed to there, looking like the guy that they signed for 4 years, $44 million in 2023 there. So, yeah, I mean, it's like added bonus there because when you go out and sign Mike Williams, I don't think you just presume that Alan Lazard is going to kind of, fall, 3rd, 4th receiver. But, he's been the 2nd best receiver, at least consistently so far.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. It doesn't really endear you to a fan base to see like, wow, you basically just gave up last year. Like you still have it, but you gave up. But
Well, you got
here's
to pay
something
him anyway, so you might as
I
well go
know,
ahead
but
and
it
use
just yeah. It's not great though. Like it's not a great, thing to see. Um Something interesting theory about Rodgers, and I talked this over with another Jet fan also, and he's like, yeah, you know what, you might not be wrong about this. I think it's certainly possible that the first two games, he was like, all right, first game is just getting back from the Achilles, get my toes wet. That's checking one thing off the box. Tennessee game, find a way to win, but not fully unleash. And maybe in his head, he was like, I want to fully unleash myself in front of the home fans on Thursday night, national stage against the Patriots. Maybe he marked that game as this is when I want to be myself. And he was holding back a little bit the first two games. And the third game was when he's like, okay, now I'm going to show you what I'm capable of. Do you think that's possible that Rodgers was kind of holding back the first two games and game three is like, all right, let me show you what I still got?
I don't know about that. I mean, I think he really played some good defenses too. I mean, obviously San Francisco has a really good defense there. I
But
think
New England had been a good defense the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's true against Cincinnati. Yeah, they were really good there. The Seattle game, yeah, they played them pretty solid. Although I think Geno Smith kind of carved them up in the
Yeah.
passing game too late. So I think their run defense was better than their pass defense. But I think that's why I think it was good to set the tone early on and get him involved instead of just being conservative. And I think that's kind of what they did. I think part of that is the play calling. I think also you have to kind of look at Nathaniel Hackett and what he was doing there early on, just being conservative, just doing a run pass. Like, yeah, in this league, you got to be able to attack and also attack the defense in the secondary there. And I feel like that's what they did against the Patriots. That's what was the difference for me. I think you saw Aaron have a little bit more confidence, but I also think Nathaniel Hackett had some confidence in him in order to set the tempo there and throw the ball early.
Yeah, well, running the ball has been effective for them, and now it feels like it's almost going to be 50. Yeah, it almost feels like it's going to be 50-50 with Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. Is that something to monitor moving forward? How do you see that running back room breaking down for the rest of the season?
It's not a bad thing to have. I mean,
no.
because I think, you don't want to run, running backs into the ground, especially this early on in the year, and injuries can happen there. I think Braylon Allen can start for a few teams, to be quite honest with you. I mean,
for sure.
Even if you look at the Giants, I mean, right now, I mean, I think he would be the starting running back for the Giants is the way that he's played so far. But yeah,
Motor had a nice game. He did have a fumble, but he had a nice game.
Yeah, he did. But I would say, I think you keep using it until the teams are adjusting and it doesn't work anymore. I mean, you got Breece Hall. We also know he's a Swiss Army knife. He can catch the ball out the backfield there. He's a different type of runner than Braylon Allen, as opposed to Allen, the short yardage situations there, he's just going to run over you. Some people have brought up Derrick Henry. I don't want to throw those comparisons out yet, but, they are similar type bats where they're really big there. They will run over you, but they also can catch the ball out the backfield and do multiple things too. And I think that's what appealed to the Jets there. And yeah, it was really surprising, at least to me, because I watch a lot of college football. I thought he was probably like a third round pick. And then to get him in the fourth round in day 3, I thought that was a bit of a steal for the Jets. And then, top of it, you also get Isaiah Davis, who's a similar type running back, but not as big as Braylon Allen too. So they got 3 running backs that they can really use there. And I think, going back to, parts of the 22 season, you could kind of, even when they had Breece, they used like multiple running backs there, but they had Michael Carter, they had Ty Johnson at times. And I think they kind of want to get back to that, similar to what the 49ers do, even though they had Christian McCaffrey, they like to incorporate a lot of running backs.
Yeah, you mentioned teams that could use him. I mean, the Cowboys maybe should have drafted Braylon Allen. I mean, their running back situation with 90-year-old Zeke and 87-year-old Dalvin Cook, who we saw with the Jets last year, that didn't work.
Exactly. And they got Deuce Vaughn, who's really more like a backup type of guy. So, yeah, they really don't have a lot. Somebody that can take some pressure off of Dak Prescott and the rest of that offense.
On the other side of the ball, obviously the Patriots not the best offense and their offensive line was injured. But what I did see out of the Jets was a willingness to change, a willingness that I never thought we'd see from the Jets, and that's blitzing and basically saying, hey, we haven't been getting home with a whole lot of people. We know that they're not going to try and push the ball downfield. Let's just confuse the hell out of this guy and put pressure in his face, attack this young offensive line and blitz. I was shocked to see it. I love to see it because maybe we can see this moving forward where there's at least a little bit of a willingness to change from the game plan that Robert Saleh is always so married to.
I think you kind of saw that in the Titans game too, where they realized, yeah, we're not getting a lot of pressure with our front four. Let's just start blitzing Quincy, and then even when you had, Sherwood is in there as well, coming in for C.J. Mosley, they also used him in blitzing situation, and Chuck Clark too. They used Chuck Clark as well, which I think is also very smart too. So yeah, I mean, you got to get pressure on there somehow, and it help out Will McDonald, especially with no Jermaine Johnson for the rest of the year. That's unfortunate, but to have a guy like Will McDonald that's really stepped up there, 5.5 sacks, so far this year. I mean,
in 5 days.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's pretty. I don't think anybody necessarily saw that coming there. I thought he might have a better year, but not like this, especially early on. So you got to give some credit to him, especially when you got guys like Quinn Williams who's still getting home and getting pressure, but he's getting double teamed.
I think I saw playing 3 times in 11 days has only happened twice or 3 times in the NFL history, and twice it's been the Jets that have had to do it, which is crazy. But this is the first time a team that's had to do it is 2-1 coming out of it. So I think the first 3 games of the season, all things considered, a success.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be 2-1, yeah, this is where you want to be. I didn't think they start 3-0, to be honest with you, but to be 2-1 and then heading into the Denver game with a possibility to go 3-1 heading into October, I think that's exactly what you want to be at, especially in the AFC where, I mean, it's going to be tough, especially with the Chiefs. You got Buffalo. Buffalo looks like they're hitting on all cylinders. Like they look like the biggest challenger to the Chiefs to me, at least at the moment. They're in Houston. Houston looks really good too. So, but if you can be one of those teams that are like, right up under them, which I think the Jets are, might be the 4th best team in the AFC. Yeah, I think that's not a bad place to be right now, especially early on.
Yeah, and the landscape has completely shifted in the AFC really last night on Monday Night Football when you saw Jacksonville look as bad as they did. And oh my God, like thanking our lucky stars that the Jets did not get Trevor Lawrence that year. And although, they did get the worst quarterback in NFL history that year instead, but still, at least he was bad enough that you moved off from him, as opposed to Jacksonville is still like, I don't know. And they just went out and paid Trevor Lawrence. So the Jets probably in a better situation than Jacksonville right now. But Buffalo looks like they're the best team, not only in the AFC, but in football.
Yes.
And then on the other side, the Bengals lose again and 0-3. I mean, can they come back from that? They're going to be in desperation mode. And how awesome is Jaylen Daniels?
Yo, yeah, Jay. I mean, I saw him a lot at LSU. I mean, I'm not really surprised that he's starting out as fast as what he is there. I picked him to win the Rookie of the Year. We had to do our predictions, and then I thought, even watching the Commanders game, if you remember the preseason game where he threw that pass and it was right on the money, like it could have been perfectly placed that drive, and then they took him out, and I was like, I'm really impressed. I mean, he's come in really fast. I didn't think he'd pick it up this quickly there, but. They got an excellent tight end in Terry McLaurin, who I feel like is one of the more underrated wide receivers in football. Solid running game there. And then, Dan Quinn is going to have them playing really good defense. So they got a chance. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but I think they're going to be a fun team to watch throughout the course of the year. So I'm not necessarily surprised that he's having success in the league. It just may be surprising that it's been through 3 games so fast.
And specifically in the AFC East, because the Miami Dolphins are in complete disarray now, it seems like, right? Where they don't know who they're starting. It might be Skylar Thompson again. It might be Tim Boyle, our guy again. And it might be Tyler Huntley. They don't know who they're starting, which is crazy.
And 3 weeks anyway.
Yeah. And then the Bills look like I said, maybe the best team in football. So things happen quickly in the NFL.
Yeah, it does. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of Miami because clearly they mismanaged their quarterback position. It kind of looks like very similar to what the Jets did a year ago, where you have Tua, but outside of that, you would think, especially with his injury history, you want to have a more stable backup quarterback situation. But they move off Mike White and go with Skylar Thompson, which. I speak to a lot of Dolphins reporters, especially considering I covered them for 7 years. And then all the reporters told me Skylar Thompson was better than Mike White throughout the preseason, which I have a hard time believing.
Me too.
Skylar was better than Mike White. Mike White's been really, really bad throughout the course of the preseason. So I have a hard, you can't put yourself in this situation with the backup quarterback, especially when a guy that has concussion injuries and issues and also injuries in the past. And then now you find yourself, scrambling. And now I think they're going to be one of those teams that that's going to, even if Tua comes back, what is that going to look like? What is his health? What is his confidence going to be like after another concussion too, as well? That's some questions they're going to have to answer themselves too.
Yeah, it's a scary situation down there in Miami. As far as the Jets, you mentioned the young quarterback, Jaylen Daniels. Well, Bo Nix looked like he started to find a little something against the Bucs in their most recent game. And so for the Jets, an interesting game coming up against Denver. And for a few reasons. One, it's the Rodgers revenge game, right? He never got to defend his guy, Nathaniel Hackett, after the comments Sean Payton made. So that for him. Another young quarterback for the Jets to face. So maybe there's dialing up the blitzes again against Denver. Can we see that? And really what's most important is this is the last game before you have to go to London and face Sam Darnold, which seems like an entirely different beast now, and then come home in the tougher schedule, like you mentioned. You almost have to win. I wouldn't say it's a must-win game. This is a can't-lose game at home against Denver. What do you expect to see from the Jets against the Broncos on Sunday?
I think a lot, kind of what you saw against the Patriots. I mean, get some pressure on Bo Nix there, who's shown he's been susceptible to turnovers, especially when you get pressure on him there. He is a little bit more mobile than Jacoby Brissett, obviously, but somebody that you can get pressure on and can force some mistakes too. And then running the football there. I thought Denver did a really good job against Tampa Bay too on both sides of the football, especially defensively. That's what really impressed me there. So being able to run the football there. You don't necessarily need Rodgers, I don't think, to do too much there. You don't need, a similar type game against, the Patriots, but it'd be good to get them some more confidence too, especially considering you got a tough defense facing next week there. So this is one of those games where you want to try to get right as much as possible there and have that offense clicking. That way, you're facing the tougher team like Minnesota with Brian Flores. He's going to put out confusing schemes and stuff like that, kind of what he did with the 49ers there. And I imagine they're probably going to try to get some pressure on Aaron in a lot of different ways too. So yeah, this is kind of a get right game. Not that the Jets haven't been right, but you want to make sure you have that offense clicking on all cylinders before heading to October with that tougher part of the schedule, which also includes Houston on Halloween too. So I think the easiest game they're going to have in October is against the Patriots again, which that's on the road too. So yeah, it's going to be interesting in October for the Jets too. But this is a game you definitely have to win, especially when you're considering it's an AFC game. You never know what tiebreakers are going to do too. So I think you have to win this game.
Yeah, a great opportunity for the Jets. Win, and then you go into London feeling pretty good about yourself at 3-1, and then you figure it out from there. That's Antwan Staley, covers the Jets for the New York Daily News. Where else can we find your work, Antwan?
Just Daily News, nydailynews.com on the website, and then also find me at Twitter just by my name, Antwan Staley.
All right, dude, I appreciate your time. Till next time. See ya.
Thank you.